Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Okay, let's tag people in. Okay, great. Got the first person in here. Was having trouble getting on my laptop. Just tagging people in right now. If you're watching live, type live so I can see who you are. If you are catching the replay, go ahead and type replay so I can know that you caught the replay also. This is just going to be open up for a couple of days. So thank you for making it, whether you are catching the live or you're catching the replay. Now, if you are catching the live, welcome. I have a lot in store for you today, so I hope that you brought your curiosity, your open-mindedness, your questions. Hi, Trisha. Please pardon me in advance. I just had a smoothie, so I may have food in my teeth, but that is life. So I'm gonna give it a few more seconds and then we will jump in. Perfect. Okay. All right. So I see we've got 7 people on right now. I'd love to know 8 people. I'd love to know where you're watching from and maybe how the weather is out there today. So the weather is amazing here, and I posted something the other day and I got quite a few photos of people saying that it's cold there. It's cold where you are. So where are you? How is the weather? How is it affecting you? Let's see if I can do this without glasses. I can't do this without glasses. I cannot do this without glasses. Okay, let's jump in. Welcome. Hello, hello, and welcome. Thank you for making the time today. This is the 5 Keys to Healing Your Teeth Naturally class. And I am Alexandra Cutis, your favorite tooth nerd and holistic dental health coach. So I teach holistically minded women how to heal oral problems naturally from home, how to reduce or eliminate their need for the dentist, and simplify natural oral care. So if you followed me for a while, you will know that I place an emphasis on teaching you how to make simple and delicious meals that heal and make everyone that you're sharing with ask for seconds. So a little bit about this class today. It's going to be, I'm going to wrap at 45 minutes max, and then we'll have 15 minutes for questions. So I highly recommend staying through till the end, because I will probably answer your question before you ask it. And then if you have any questions at the end remaining, I will be happy to answer those questions. I also have some special bonuses for those who stay to the end and some fun things. So we're going to make it as fun as possible. My background is education, so I will speak quite quickly, but we'll also have a really good time. So this session isn't going to be the session, hi Alice, so this session is going to be jam-packed with information, so you may want to take notes, as the replay is only going to be available for a few days. So I do have a few requests before we start, and that is that this is an educational space. So what I'm sharing with you is really contrary to a lot of conventional dentistry. And if you're already in the healing space, you already know that a lot of things in the conventional world are no longer, they're either outdated or they're not serving us on a holistic level, meaning that while the medical world can do phenomenal things, looking after the whole person and allowing the whole person to thrive is not what they are really, really good at. They're really good at isolating. Like and I like to say with Western medicine, I think of it as really great in emergencies. If I break my arm or if I have some terrible accident, you best believe I'm going to a Western medical professional. But if I want to be a happy, healthy individual that lives long and has a vital life, those are not going to be the first people that I go to. Unfortunately, their training is not in the whole person and the whole system. So my background is in human development. I have extensive training in whole systems, and I bring that into everything I do, and I'm excited to share more with you today. Okay, so as I said, this is an educational space, so stay open. You're welcome to ask questions. I will be answering them at the end. And please, no pitching to people in the group, and no DMing people without an invite. So we just want to make sure that this is a space that is primarily educational, and when we share resources that have worked for us. We're not selling, I try to make sure that there are not people in this group that are purely in here to sell a product, because that's not the aim of this. This is an educational space, and you want to become educated. Once you know better, you can do better. Okay. One more thing is, if you do share something, and this is kind of for the group in general, if you do share something that worked for you, please do not phrase it as the answer. Hi, Diana. Please do not frame it as the answer. It is an answer that worked for you. Okay, there is no one size fits all, and that is something that is very, very important that we kind of remember in this space, that we have some similarities as a group, but we are not one size fits all. We do not live all in the same place. We do not all have access to the same things. Our bodies have different sensitivity, and we really need to respect that different people have different needs and different sensitivities. So, okay. So that said, just to make sure that you are using your time today wisely, because I respect and appreciate your time, and I am here to show up and give you all the value that you need. And you are in the right place if you are a natural, holistic-minded person. So that means that you prefer to do things naturally, and you believe that every part of the body can heal. Or you might be new to this world, and somehow you came across this crazy idea that teeth and gums can heal, right? And so you're now kind of looking for a simple breakdown of what it takes to heal naturally. Or you're also in the right place if you've been researching and it's led you down a rabbit hole of information, and now you're feeling overwhelmed. So I'd love to hear if you resonate, if you're one of those. If you're already natural and holistic minded, or you're new to this world of natural healing, or you have been researching and it's led you down a rabbit hole, and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Those are generally the people that are in this group. Now, this class is not for you if you're looking for a magic pill. If you are hoping that I am going to tell or sell you kind of some miracle supplement that is going to make everything better, and all you have to do is just take it once a day, and you won't have to change or think differently at all, I'm sorry, this is not the place for you. And the reason that there is no magic pill is that even though there are some products and supplements that are good, we need to look at you as a whole person. If you are, let's say, if you have this amazing pill, this magical pill that could do all these wonderful things for you, but you aren't changing the things that are causing the issues in the first place, then it's going to be incredibly hard for that magic pill to, see if I can turn this down a little bit so you don't see so much brightness on my glasses. It's going to be incredibly hard for you to heal long term. Nope, we can't do that. Today is just not a tech day for me. All right. It's going to be incredibly hard for you to heal. So while there are, supplements that I do recommend, there are, things that I support you adding into your diet, we really need to look at this as a whole life perspective. If that sounds hard, don't worry, it really isn't. It's actually a lot simpler than you may think. The other thing that this class may not be for you is if you are like skeptical beyond skeptical and you cannot, you're kind of here because you're like, I don't believe this, and I came in here to see that this woman is talking craziness. And if you are really, really, really set in the belief that you cannot heal your teeth, you cannot heal gums, everything that the dentist has told you is right, then I'm not going to argue with you, and this is just not a space really that is going to support your time, right? We really want to use our time in the most beneficial ways. Like, I'm not going to try and drag anyone into belief, because right now, as you're all well aware, there is so much information on the internet that you can be anything you want to believe, you can be justified in believing. You can find all kinds of crazy articles to support all your beliefs. Now, if you're looking for the science is definitely there. Is the science popular? No. Science is not popular when there is not a lot for, big companies to benefit from it. So while the science is there, recognize that a lot of the science that I'm going to be sharing with you is not widely accepted, but it's getting there. We are getting there. When I started my journey 10 years ago, there was like very little information in the mainstream, and it's starting to hit dentists now, and this is really wonderful. What they're going to do with this information, I don't know, because it can really cut into their bottom line. But anyway, so I want you to just settle in, and we're going to get started, and just think about where you are now. Think about where you are now with your teeth. If you want to share kind of maybe a word or a description about what is going on, are they feeling weak? Are they feeling sensitive? And, think about like, are you overwhelmed? Let me know kind of how you are feeling. So I see that we already have quite a few holistic-minded people. Great. Okay, we have people in Mexico and Missouri. Nice. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Okay. So just think about these teeth of yours. These teeth, these strong teeth and gums can be yours. Okay, and just really think about how would it change your life if you felt and knew that you could handle these issues at home by yourself, right? So when we fall, I mean, many of us, pretty much everyone here watching is an adult. We don't fall that much anymore. But, when we fall and we cut our knee or something like that, we don't have to worry about our bodies healing themselves. We know that they will. When we cut our hair, we don't have to worry about it not growing back. when we cut our nails, if we're sick, we don't have to worry so much about our body healing ourselves. What do? We just do a few certain things that need to be done, and we let our body take care of itself, because our bodies are geared to heal. They are geared to heal, okay? And our teeth, which is an extension of our skeleton, they are an extension of that. It doesn't make sense, right? That even our eyeballs can heal. And for some reason, our teeth, right? Let's just back up 1 second. Now, everything I'm going to share with you is based on science, but also I want you to think of it from a perspective of common sense, right? Now, humans, we need to eat to live. Eat and breathe, pretty much. Those are the two things that we need to do the most. So if our teeth were so fragile, the thing that allows us to chew, right? And we've only recently started to have these soft foods since the Industrial Revolution, where things are super, super, super easy to eat without chewing. If our teeth were so fragile that if we get a cavity, it's just a one-way street, right? That it can't heal ever again, then how does that make sense? If our mouths are the fastest thing that heal in our bodies, then how is it that our teeth cannot heal too? If we break a bone and our bone can literally fuse back together with the right support, how is it that our teeth cannot heal too, right? So I'm here to really affirm what you probably suspect, which is that your teeth can heal. Now, the reason that teeth are not healing is because we are not giving them the right conditions. And that is what this class is going to be about today. Okay, so with these 5 steps, this is what I teach in my 6-week course, Heal Your Teeth. And once you master them, healing just becomes automatic. So if you don't have this framework, right? And many of you, actually, I'd love if you're new, if you're just popped on and you haven't let me know that you are in the chat, let me know so I can see you. Because a lot of you I've already chatted with, and so I kind of know your background and what you've been working on and what you've been studying. And if you're here because you're frustrated that something still hasn't clicked into place, you're like, I've done all these things, I've gone to all these groups, I've bought all these things. Hi, Stephanie. So I've bought all these things and it's still not working. It's because you don't have the framework, right? Hi, Carly. And if you don't have this framework, you end up buying thousands of dollars of useless supplements, right? This is something that you can end up doing. You can end up not knowing what is working, or nothing working, or it can get worse. That's the even worse, part of it. And I would say the toughest part is if you end up giving up and going to the dentist with more work needed than before, right? That's not a fun place to be. That's kind of like a defeated place. And we really want, if we're going to be going to the dentist, to be starting to look at it as a partnership with them, not a punishment. Not, oh, I didn't manage to get my teeth together. I, jumped online and I tried a bunch of things and they didn't work, and now I'm in more pain and I have to go to the dentist, and he's going to, now instead of a filling, he's going to do a root canal, right? And so something that I say with dentists is that dentists, I think of them like mechanics. And, with mechanics, you kind of want to find a good one. And if you don't find, at any rate, the rate of success you're going to have with a dentist or a mechanic really relies a lot upon how much you understand your teeth or your car. right? So you can walk into a dentist and he can open up your mouth just like under the hood of a car, and he can tell you all kinds of things, right? He can say, oh, well, you need a root canal and you need this and you need that. And for me, they told me I needed $24,000 worth of work. 24,000. Hello. By the way, I worked on my teeth myself. I healed my teeth myself. And the next time I went, they told me I needed a cleaning. They just told me I needed a cleaning. So where did this $24,000 worth, well, I gave them $2,000. So where did this $22,000 worth of work that they were supposedly supposed to do in my mouth go? Well, I was able to really do some serious healing on myself, and this really extended to the rest of my life. So drop a chat if you're ready to learn. Drop in the chat ready if you're ready to learn this. If you're ready to learn the 5 keys to healing naturally. And while I wait to hear from you, I'm going to let you know a little bit of background about me in case you've never, this is the first video you've seen of me, and you're like, who is this girl? Where is this? I don't know where this is. But so my name is Alexandra Cutis. I am a holistic dental health coach. My background is in education. If you had told me that this is what I was going to be doing, I would not have believed you at all. I always had bad teeth growing up. I always had toothache. I always had pain. I always had cavities, right? And I was always so afraid to go to the dentist. So afraid. And it was a struggle every time. And I would put it off until it just got too bad. And that's what ended up happening. Now, 10 years ago, I had a health crisis, a tooth crisis, where I was in, my teeth, which had always been they had always been dodgy. They slid rapidly. I went from a little pain to like unbearable amounts of pain. I didn't know at the time, but I had 3 teeth dying in my head. And that level of pain is, it's what pushes me to get the message out there, because I don't want other people to be experiencing what I experienced. And honestly, it's unnecessary. And it's unnecessary, and the changes I've made are so pleasurable that I enjoy doing them 10 years later. Now, 10 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot out there. I don't think that there were Facebook groups. There wasn't a lot of information out there on healing teeth naturally. Unfortunately, now it's almost the opposite, and there is, I would almost say, too much information. So, like, drop like a reaction, like a thumbs up, if you feel like you've seen tons and tons of information that's almost like, whoa, this is way too much. Like, this person just told me to do 25 different things, and now I have to get online and order these things I've never heard of and hope that they work, and how often do I use them, and this, that, and the other. So, there's two. Okay, I see some thumbs up. Yeah, and this is why I actually created this group, because I was in those groups and I was like, wow, a lot of the things that I'm seeing people recommending are not going to be helpful for teeth, or they're just going to be kind of like, you could order 10 things and then how do you know which one worked? Do you have to they're quite expensive too, right? So this is why I'm primarily my students will know I'm big on food-based, right? Food-based nutrition and food-based supplementation is going to be, over your lifespan, it's going to be more affordable, it's going to be more accessible, and it's going to be more enjoyable. So I really went and had this kind of crisis, and I didn't have this $24,000 to spend on dental care. Even if I did, who wants to spend $24,000 on dental care? And the reason that I asked a question that kind of opened the doors for me. And this question was, I asked the dentist, I said, well, okay, if I find this $24,000 somehow, is that the end of my tooth problems? Like, am I done? Because I was 24 years old. I'm thinking like $24,000, how do I, okay. And the dentist said to me, well, no, he couldn't guarantee basically that that was the end of my work. And so at 24 years old, I'm thinking to myself, why is my body falling apart? Because, at the time I was vegan and I felt incredibly healthy. I worked 4 or 5 days at the farmer's market, doing like really good physical labor, putting up huge tents and pulling them down. I was selling organic produce. I was doing a great job. I was going to meetups. I was like meeting all these wonderful people. We were doing vegan potlucks, and I couldn't understand why my body was falling apart at a time when beyond that I felt so good, right? And I work with a lot of people like that. They feel really good in general, but the teeth are falling apart. And I know with a lot of moms, this is the same thing too. They're like, but why the teeth? Everything else is kind of on track. They have a beautiful, healthy child. And then you have these teeth, and it's totally concerning, right? It's totally like, on a deep intrinsic level, we know that if our mouths are falling apart, this is bad, right? Because how do we get food in our mouths if we don't have teeth, right? Or if there's pain in there, or if we're afraid to eat. So I was very lucky that I have a friend and a mentor who's in her 80s now, and she really introduced me to this whole world of holistic healing. So I worked with her, and she gave me this book. It's called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. You can find it online for free. It's a dense research book from the 30s, so I'm just going to give you that disclaimer. But it's a great book. And because there was nothing else, I started to kind of really read and dive into this. And I was lucky because at the time I was a student. So I was used to reading ridiculous amounts of really complex, like scientific literature. I wouldn't call it so complex, but it's dense and it's old school. So I started to travel around. I was traveling around the state. I live in California, and I was traveling around the Southwest, and I was starting to connect with people who had read this book and starting to learn more and get really, really deep into this. And this was an interesting thing. I started to be able to notice these changes in my teeth because I was set to go to Mexico and try and fix these teeth. But in the interim, I started learning this. I had nothing to lose, right? Like, I was in so much pain that I started trying things that were not vegan, that grossed me out. I started trying liver, and I started eating meat again, and I started eating all kinds of things that were just so strange to me. And some things were great and some things were not. And, I didn't heal as fast as I would have because there was really no framework for me. But within about 6 months, I started to notice that that pain, that sensitivity was starting to go away. I had 2 teeth that were still hurting me because I'd let them put a root canal, unfortunately, in one. 2 teeth that were still hurting me, and though that pain started to go away, and I started to be able to chew on those teeth, and it felt amazing. It felt like a total triumph, and I felt so elated, and I was trying to tell everybody what I had done, and really nobody was interested. And what I learned later on when I started my training for holistic health coaching is that the reason that no one was interested is because it was a very unique to me plan, right, that I was doing. And so now what I have learned to do is to step back, and instead of saying, take this, take this, take this, take this. Yes, these things helped me. Yes, raw milk, raw dairy, sauerkraut, organ meats, coconut oils, fats. Yes, all of these things helped me. But I don't want you to write that down. I don't want you to, because those were the things that helped me. I have students that are from all over the world that eat completely different things from me, and they have really tapped into what I call the personal power protocol, which means this is the set of foods and lifestyle changes that support your individual healing, not mine, right? Because that becomes then like a religion, right? If I tell you, like, I did this, 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 and this. And so this is where it gets tricky when you're in these groups and someone's saying, do all these things, right? Take vitamin K2, take D3, take this, take that. It may or may not have worked for them, or they may just be regurgitating what they've heard from other people. But I'm gonna pull back for that, and then I'm gonna pull back. We're gonna go into the whole thing in just a moment. Okay, I get too excited and I want to tell you everything, and we gotta go point by point. Okay, so what I want to let you know before we jump in, because now we're gonna really jump in, is that dentists do not know the full picture, right? They're not bad people, but they're not taught the full picture. They don't know this framework. And hopefully many of them will start to kind of wake up soon. But again, all of them, they paid a lot for their education, and their profession makes them a lot of money. So we can't really expect them to be at the forefront of natural, dental, holistic healing and methods. What we can do is we can arm ourselves. And what is amazing is once we start to heal the teeth, we heal the mouth, we heal the body. It is really connected, and really this mouth being like the gateway to the body. There are so many symptoms and side effects that people who apply this framework to their life, that they start to overcome, right? It's like acne and yeast infections and depression and anxiety and leaky gut and belly bloat and healthy weight change. And I just want to say healthy weight change because I don't want to say weight loss, right? I want to say healthy weight change. Not everyone wants or needs to lose weight. Some people, want to feel like more comfortable in their body. And this is the magic of this. So thank you for taking this time with me to really, I see that pretty much everybody who started with me is still here. So I hope that you're getting the benefits of understanding that this, while it's not a quick fix, this is a lifestyle shift and a mindset shift that will affect you for the rest of your life. My grandmothers are in their 90s and they look good. They look good. They look good and they are healthy. And a lot of what I'm about to teach you, I also learned from them. So let's jump in. So we've got the 5 keys. And let me just check that we've got people who said they're ready, because if you're not ready, I don't want to. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Lots of readies. Great. Okay, great. So here are the 5 keys. The first is oral care. This is the one that you are most familiar with, right? The second is nutritional. And when it comes to nutritional, you've probably heard no sugar, right? if you're new to this, you maybe have heard no grains, but these are kind of, we don't know too much about the nutritional aspects as a culture. The third is environmental aspects of healing. The fourth is physiological. And the fifth is emotional. So we don't have a whole lot of time for these today. Like I could go in on each of these for a few hours, but I'm going to give you the rundown today. And at the end of this presentation, or at the end of this class, I will show you how, if you'd like to learn more, if you enjoy my teaching style and you feel like this is making sense, I will show you how you can learn more from me. So let's jump into oral care. So oral care is just kind of considered this standard thing: brush twice a day, toothpaste, mouthwash, flossing. And the reality is, if those things worked, we really wouldn't have so much tooth decay. Like 90% of the population has been affected, over 90% of the population in modern industrialized societies have been affected by tooth decay. It's probably one of the most common diseases that we have, but it is unnecessary. I say this often, but when you think about people who live in, the Amazon, or in like Africa, like the African like plains, people who you can think of really beautiful, bright, white, strong, straight teeth, right? Obviously, this is not like every single person has this, but the idea that there are people out there who have never used a toothbrush and toothpaste in their life, and they have these beautiful and straight teeth, it shows us something, it tells us something, right? And similarly, when you think about ancient skulls, you rarely see crooked teeth in these ancient skulls. You usually see beautiful, broad teeth, straight and cavity-free. And now you can imagine, if we didn't have dentists and if we didn't have braces, how do you think the average human's teeth would look like at the end of their life, right? Like, I have pretty straight teeth, but even down here, it's like not that, and I'm missing a tooth from before I learned how to do all this. So what we really need to understand with oral care is it's only a small piece of the puzzle. And the reality is that when our teeth are weak, when the teeth are weak, then, they're very susceptible to decay. And it's helpful to clean the debris and all of that off and keep the mouth clean. But really, if you want to keep a tooth strong, you need to fortify it from inside, which means we're feeding our bodies foods that strengthen them from the inside. Kind of like with immunity. You want to build up your immunity so that you are less likely to catch nasty diseases, instead of just worrying about staying away from them all the time. So with your toothbrushing, with your mouthwash, with your floss, I would just say go as natural as possible, go as gentle as possible, and really we're going to focus on the next factor the most, which is nutritional. So nutritional, there's a few things that we want to talk about that really affect what you need to be putting into your body and how much and all of that. Like I said, no one size fits all protocol, but there is one that is out there for you, and that's what I call the personal power protocol. That's something I spend 6 weeks with my students helping them to create, because at the end you have a menu of foods that you love, that you're already, either were already eating or now you've tried. And really, a personal power food is a food that when you eat it, you go, right? Your body goes, oh, yes. And this is not a manufactured food. This has to be a food that's like, that wasn't, in a lab. It wasn't done in a lab, because if it's been kind of engineered in a lab, it's engineered to make us go, but we're talking about like real whole foods. So for example, a personal power food of mine is sauerkraut. I know. It's sauerkraut, and I absolutely love it. So if you're watching, go ahead and let me know if you like sauerkraut or not. It says yes, or a no to sauerkraut. Obviously, there's a lot of different types. You can make your own, but that was when I discovered that was a personal power food of mine. That really changed the game for me, and that's where we want to come from. If you don't like it, are you really going to do it long term? Are you going to do it long term? You're not. And, if you've ever tried a diet in your life, you know that you're probably not on that diet still because it's too rigid. One of my students and friend, Amber Evans, she's so great because she uses the same terminology of me, which is getting on the wagon or falling off the wagon, right? So you create your personal power protocol, you have your foods and you have your lifestyle choices that you discover. You go, okay, yes, this is me. And sometimes life takes over and you end up eating, some weird pizza, and you drink some beer, and, and you feel kind of crazy, and you're like, oh, I don't like this. And then you get back on the wagon, right? So it's not about being perfect. It's about noticing in your body. I have another student, she said, she had a craving the other day, and it was a Taco Bell craving. And she went and she got it, and she just was disgusted. She hadn't had it in so long, but she gave in, and she, and I encourage people to give in to their cravings, but be very intentional about them. When you have a craving for something weird, if you can't substitute it with something better, go and have it and really experience how you feel while you're eating it, after you're eating it. And most people will find they don't really like it anymore, especially when you start to put personal power foods into your body, foods that feed what your body needs. Yeah, Trisha, Trisha's a student of mine too, and she's like, no to sauerkraut, and I'm sure you've tried it. And so I wouldn't push it on you, because if it's not your thing, there's so many other things out there that are going to help you yourself. So what we really want to take into consideration with nutritional aspects is genetic heredity. Genetic heredity. If you're taking notes, I would write that down. Genetic heredity. And really starting to think about this when you're making your decisions. So, where are your people from, and what did they eat? What did they eat across time, right? What are they, because our food has changed so much in the last 50 years that most people are not getting much out of it, right? A lot of food is completely nutrient devoid. If you take some food in a supermarket and you turn it over and you look at the ingredients and you look at the nutrition values on the back, often it's a lot of 0%. And even when something does say, vitamin A, 10%, vitamin this, often it's either fortified, which means it's a synthetic supplement that's added, which can cause its own issues, or that was the kind of relative value at the time of leaving the factory, right? So much of our food, it may be 5-6 plus months, a year from when it left the factory to when we eat it. I have a good friend who used to work in a warehouse for a supermarket, and they said that the supermarkets would send food back that they hadn't sold, and they would wipe off the sell-by date, and they would put another one on. So just be very mindful of that not all food is food, and not everything that we can read really means exactly what it means. So we're wanting to look at what were our ancestors eating, and they were tending to eat fresh, local, seasonal food, non-processed. And that doesn't mean, you can only eat carrots and kale. That just means, you're starting to think a little bit about, how can I make this more simple, right? Something, as many of you know, I'm pregnant, and I'm kind of just living at home off of like raw milk and eggs and bread, like really good quality bread and butter. And these things are so nourishing to my body and what I need right now. So I'm making this very, very simple. And I have students come into the course and they go, oh my gosh, there's so much. And then by the end, they're like, oh, it's pretty much what I was eating before. But now I'm a little bit more, I'm a little more conscious of what, like how to produce, how to source, how to select, and how to prepare. And sometimes how to combine foods. Okay. So moving on to sugar in the nutritional aspects, yes, sugar is an aspect of your body, or is an aspect of food that we do have to be careful about. However, I will say that you do not have to go no sugar to have no cavities. You can, if you are giving yourself, and this is how I want you to think of it, as give yourself, instead of depriving yourself, saying like, oh, I can't have sugar, I want you to think about how can I fully give myself what I need so that I can then have this treat, right? I read a book from the 50s years ago, and she said, you may have whatever you like. You may have whatever you like to eat as long as you first give yourself all that you need. And I was like, whoa, all that you need. Okay. And then that's how you start to find cravings start to fall away, right? And we all have different needs, but it's a lot more simple than it seems. We can let go of the calories. We can let go of, all the diet stuff, and we can start to really focus in on what does our individual body need. And that's what I work with people on, kind of letting go of diet dictocrats, where someone's telling you, you need this many calories a day, and you need to do this, this, and this, and you starting to reclaim your sovereignty around food. Especially women. We have a cycle. We have actually multiple cycles. We have cycles in our life where we have different needs. So just because some man told us that we needed 2,000 calories to a man's 2,500 calories, because they're like, oh, they're just smaller men. We're not smaller men. We have a period. We have these cycles. We sync in with the moon. We sync in with each other. We have menstruation. We have menopause. We are complex beings, and what we need changes on day-to-day basis. And I will say that as a pregnant woman, I am having these changes where I have to be really mindful and honor and use what I've learned, and not autopilot things. I started to notice my skin got really bad, really, really bad, and I let it go for a little bit. And then finally I said to myself, I think my body is saying, my gut needs more support. Now that's an aspect of the course that I teach in depth, because most people's guts, especially if you live in the USA, are impaired. Our guts are impaired. And guess what? When our guts are impaired, how are we supposed to take in the nutrients from our food? Right? most Americans' guts are damaged. Even if you are healthy and holistic minded, hi, I am too, and I know my gut needs support on the daily. Actually, my gut needs support on the meal. Like every meal, I'm looking like, how can I support my gut? Now, I forget some meals, and that's totally fine. But being aware that if you are sourcing and selecting this amazing food and you're preparing it correctly, but you're having a hard time still seeing results, not just in your teeth, but other aspects of your life or your health, that's a really, that's could be a clue that you need gut support. And nobody doesn't benefit from gut support, because the side effects of gut support are you feel more energized, your skin is clearer, your hair comes in thicker and grows, and it's a really I would say that aspect of healing my teeth is what was really, really helpful for healing my acne, my yeast infections, and my depression, and all of those things tied in. It's not one, it's not, they're not separate things. So, you know what? I would love to give you a couple of action steps for each section. Does that work for you guys? If I could just give you some action steps, just let me know if action steps sound good to you. Because I think in oral care, I'd love to give you the action step of being more gentle with your teeth. This is like most people, when they are wanting to clean their teeth, especially if you're scared, perfect. Thank you for the affirmations, guys. I just want to make sure you're here, you're kind of into it, and know who's watching, and if you're like, yes. Okay, so get yourself a soft toothbrush. You can go to my website, www.fuelyourdreams.us, and there's a tab that says recommendations, and I have some soft toothbrushes that I recommend there, and they're bamboo handles, so they're more they're less wasteful and more eco and all of that. So get yourself a soft toothbrush, as soft a toothbrush as you can, and really be gentle in there, right? And then I would recommend, honestly, more than brushing, making sure you rinse your mouth out after you eat, because you kind of need to give yourself, there's a little window of time to not damage the enamel after eating. So just getting some water and just that alone is just going to help kind of clear debris and change the pH in your mouth and make sure that you are, not doing damage. I know that dentists say don't snack as much, but you have to live your life. I snack when I want, and just remembering to just have a little water at the end and just kind of clear out your mouth, especially with kids. You can, if you're here for your child, that's a fun game. I'm all about gamification, especially for children, so that we can make this fun for them, so that they're not feeling like, oh my God, my mom is in my mouth again. It's like, you can take some water and you can be like, all right, you ready to do the whatever you're going to call it. And you can do it for a certain number of seconds. Okay, so with nutritional aspects, there's a lot that goes into it, right? There's a lot of, we can start talking about the calcium, the magnesium, the phosphorus. We can talk about the ratios, right? And this is very helpful, but at the same time, it's stressful. And I just want to let you guys know that when you start to eat whole foods, you don't have to worry as much about ratios and numbers. You actually can start to feel it in your body, and you'll start to notice, oh man, I just had 3 servings of sauerkraut today. I must have really needed that. I just had 4 pieces of raw cheese on the side of my dinner. Like, I must have really needed that. So this is where, especially for those of you who have deep, long-standing imbalances, as I did, right? Because it wasn't the veganism per se that created the deficiencies in my teeth, in my body, that pulled from my teeth. It was the fact that I had been deficient in minerals my whole life. And once I went into a diet that restricted things that I was already deficient in, I really was in trouble. So, I could talk to you about the numbers and the ratios, but do you really want to be sitting down at every meal and being like, is this 10 grams of calcium? Is this 10 micrograms of calcium? And do I have enough magnesium? No, we just want to start to learn the foods that exist in every single culture. And that's a question I get a lot. Hey, will this work for me? I live in Russia. I live in, South Africa. I live in, are there special supplements because they don't ship to me? Yes, you don't need to worry about special supplements. You need to get into your local market and know what to look for, right? And you're not going to be asking farmers, hey, how much calcium per gram is in this, right? Because that doesn't even make sense, because that's a made up number, and our soil is depleted at different rates all over the world. You can't guarantee, yes, a carrot might have X amount of X in it, but not universally. So we really want to start with this intuitive eating. Does that make sense, you guys? That instead of, Western world has been so obsessed with metrics and numbers, but look at us, we're not healthy, right? We're not happy as a collective. So we need to start, and especially as women, taking our power back of intuition, right? And I'm not super woo-woo. I got maybe like 1 foot in the woo-woo and 1 foot in the science, and just recognizing that we can't quantify everything, but once we know, we can start feeling our way into what we need, and we can start really taking a stand for ourselves. And when people say, well, you need this, we can say, thanks, but I've got this. I trust myself, and I know that can be hard for people, because we can be so used to, especially as women, I think it's mostly women on this call, there's mostly women in my group, but we can be so used to, as women, being told what to do. And I think when we really, really get down to it, we know. We really know we know better than anyone. So your action step for this is to start to... Awesome. Yeah, exactly. Listening to your intuition it's hard at first, but if you're doing this for the long run, if you're planning to be a vital old person in your 90s, which I am, who else is like ready to be a badass elder? I'm about to be 34. I know I look 12, but I know that also isn't by accident, So if we're doing this for the long run, we're wanting to trust our intuition, because I will tell you that the dentists, the doctors, all the kinds of people that I have been to, they have told me things that if I followed, and when I followed them, they did damage to me. And those people don't really care or know, or I don't want to say they don't care, but they have insurance for a reason. They see a lot of people, they admit they don't know everything. And so really the onus falls on us as individuals, whether you're a man or woman, to really look after ourselves, to advocate for ourselves, and to take a stand. So as a pregnant lady, I'm being told a lot of things that are in contradiction with what I know to be true for myself. And I don't fight with these medical professionals. I just say, okay, thanks so much, and I move on. I don't need to get in a fight with anyone about me. I do my research, I listen to them, and if it doesn't connect for me, I take it and I move on, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all accountable to ourselves. Someone could give you terrible advice and you could sue them because you're hurt, but it doesn't change the fact that you're hurt. And you probably knew, I should have listened to my intuition. I should have listened to what, to that little voice in the back of your head, that what we're doing is we're honing that. So your action step for nutritional is actually something that I do with my students when they come in. Now I call this the sin bin. So the sin bin is where you know that I think they call it the crisper drawer. It's that drawer where in the bottom of your fridge, usually where all the produce goes to die. So I want you to go into your fridge, and unless it's like perfectly organized, I want you to reorganize it. So go in and take all your veggies out. If you're a person who guilty as charged, your vegetables die because you didn't realize that they were in there, right? You're like, oh man, look at this beautiful produce I bought 4 weeks ago. I want you to take that out and I want you to put that on the top. No worries, Diana. Thanks for staying. So I want you to put that in eye view, right? Put all the things that are going to spoil in eye view. And I want you to take the things that you shouldn't be eating, that you know you shouldn't, but you know that you're like, I would reach for this quickly because it's quick energy, but it doesn't necessarily make me feel that good. And I want you to put those in the crisper drawer. And I want you to rename that in your mind the sin bin. Because out of sight, out of mind. And actually, you know what? I'm going to take you guys to my fridge. I'm not going to lie, it's a little crazy looking right now. But I'm going to show you my own sin bin, right? And so yeah, it's not the most beautiful fridge right now, but please just forgive me. So up here you see my veggies, all my condiments, my milks, and look at this. We got the sin bin, and this is horrible. This needs to be cleaned, but this is where I keep beers and stuff. Obviously, I'm a pregnant lady. I don't drink beers. But before I was a pregnant lady, that's where I would keep my beers. And so this is just a way of like what you already have this, right? So you could just rearrange this very, very easily and make sure that you are looking after yourself. Okay, so I want to move on. So environmental aspects of healing. This is what is going on in your home, right? What is going on in the spaces that you spend the most time in? So do you spend the most time, most people now are spending the most time at home because of COVID. Many people are spending a lot of time at work, and a lot of those spaces are toxic, and they make it harder for us to heal. So I added this section in when I was living in a home that was so toxic that I noticed I got cavities for the first time in a few years. And even though I was eating my personal power protocol and doing really well, and those toxic issues can be mold, they can be light pollution, they can be chemicals, and they can be EMFs, they can be all kinds of things. So if you are not addressing this, you are making it very hard to heal, right? If you are brushing your teeth gently and using all the correct non-abrasive products, and if you are eating according to your personal needs, but your home or your office or the place you spend the most time in is not allowing your body, your mitochondria to reset, to heal, you're in trouble. You're going to have a lot of issues. Now, you can't really your office or something like that, you don't have that much control over, but you do have control over your home space, right? And this is a whole section that I go into in my 6-week course, Heal Your Teeth. But I will say, for your action step for this, make sure your room is dark. This is a really, really simple action step to have. Make sure your room is dark at night. The darker, the better. And, if you can't get it dark, make it cover as much of your body as possible. So I have, at night I have a little thing over my eyes, and I cover myself because your skin absorbs light too. And we really want to make sure that we're sleeping. The sleep that we're having is restorative. Just like anything else, your teeth need you to sleep well to heal. You can even put in some earplugs so that you can have that deeper, deeper sleep. Okay. Number 4, physiological. So one of the biggest changes that we have had as humans over the last 100 years is, probably over the last 10 years, is how we sit, sleep, stand, and breathe, right? So with the cell phone, we're doing a lot of this, and that is affecting how we're breathing, how blood is flowing through our body, how we are able to heal. And so this is something that we want to bring our attention to, right? It's not just like etiquette school anymore where we balance a book on our heads to look fancy. It's actually, these things have real effects on our bodies. So, a big one with breathing, and we're going to address this right now, is that how you're breathing is affecting how your teeth are, what they're being exposed to. We want to be having our mouth closed as much as possible when we're not talking. Definitely when we're chewing, and definitely when we're sleeping. If you are snoring at night, if you are mouth breathing day or night, this can really set you up because your mouth becomes dry. This can set you up for cavities, and especially if you're a mom who has a little one, this is something you can notice, and you can start to practice with them. How to keep their mouth closed during the day. And when you learn to keep your mouth closed during the day, you will automatically start to train those muscles and be able to keep the mouth closed more during the night. This is a severe problem, and honestly, if you have children, you really want to take this seriously, because mouth breathing in children, amongst behavioral issues, it also creates physical developmental issues. So a lot of the braces that we see come from children mouth breathing, because when you're mouth breathing, it's turning your mouth from a chewing device into a breathing device, and so the face becomes thinner. So it becomes thinner, and you can start to see in children who are mouth breathing that their jaws start to get skinnier, and they don't have space for the wisdom teeth. And now this youngest generation, they're not even having space for the 2 teeth, the molars that come before the wisdom teeth. So this is really, really important. Okay, so the last aspect, excuse me, I'm just going to drink some water. Water is so amazing. Whew, okay. The last aspect is emotional aspects of healing. Now, this does not affect as many people, but if it does affect you, it is going to make it hard to heal. So, a lot of emotions can be trapped in our mouths. Now, especially as women, we really want to think about how often do we hold our tongue, bite our tongue, clench our jaw. How often do we not say things that we want to say? How often do we not yell at people we want to yell at? Maybe it's someone on the street who said some weird thing to us and we just hold our tongue. These things, especially if they kind of started during childhood, they can affect our bodies. Now, there's lots of different things that you can do to, if you identify, the stress that trapped emotions are an aspect of your healing. And I'm curious if there's anyone out there who really does feel that this was something that this may be something for them that is an aspect of why they're experiencing, or their child is experiencing, tooth decay, because it's not that many people. But there's a lot of things, and stress is another aspect. And stress, I bet that pretty much everyone watching has experienced this. So the stress is something that we really can't overlook, and we really, really need to be aware of. Now, I don't have a specific action step for this, and I think that this would be very easy for you. I would turn this over to you, an action step. What do you feel like? And I would love it if you could share in the chat. What do you feel like an action step for reducing stress or dealing with trapped emotions for you would be? For me, it would be rededicating myself to yoga. Yoga or stretching, maybe 10 minutes a day. What could it be for you? Right? I've actually had students come up with really, really creative ways, and I list a lot in my course, but really I think most people know frequency healing. I have never heard of that. That sounds really interesting. There's so much, right? There's so much these days that we can really do. But doesn't it make it... So I think that our culture, we can really feel like stress is like a badge of honor. But if you know that it might be contributing to your teeth having major issues, and that can be contributing to other major issues, doesn't it incentivize it a bit more to not be stressed? So for me, right now, being pregnant, I kind of get like every emotion I feel on like 12 now, right? So if I'm happy, I'm like so happy. If I'm like angry, I'm like so angry. 20-minute morning walk is so good, especially if it's sunny. So this is something I've learned. Now, before I was like, no drama in my life, please. Now I'm like, oh, no drama in my life. Sorry. Someone brings some craziness to me, some disrespectful stuff. Like, I'm just like, I'm sorry. I can't. Like, this isn't good for the baby. And so when we start to make that the priority, and it's no longer a badge of honor, because I think for me as a woman, I used to feel like I can take all this. I can absorb it all, and I can, especially working in education for so long, there was a lot of stress thrown at me from my coworkers, from administration, from pressure to make sure that every kid got what they needed, and you just take it in your body and you just hold it. And it's almost like, this badge of like honor, like I suffered. But when you start to, and if you have a child, recognizing how that stress might affect them, and being conscious and being like, okay, we're having this stressful moment. I don't want this to affect their teeth or my teeth. And I don't want this to affect their lifetime, because for so many of us, the situations that happened in our childhood, we're still healing from. And nobody gets away from that, right? So it's like, don't put guilt on yourself of like, oh, I got upset in front of my kid, like now they're going to have cavities. No, it's like, this is life. But it's just that reminder of like, okay, we really need to be, this is that framework, right? Oral care, nutritional, environmental, physiological, emotional. right? So just, there's a reason, like there's a reason to breathe. There's a reason to just relax. Okay. So that is it. Those are the 5 keys. If you master those, oral, nutritional, environmental, physiological, and emotional, you will have a whole different set of teeth. I'm talking low sensitivity, low to no sensitivity. You probably can eat ice cream again. You will see teeth start to heal. You're going to see gums pinker. This class, we didn't talk too much about gums. This was more about teeth, but everything that you do for your teeth does also help gums. And this is something, so here I'm going to wrap this up here, and I'm going to open up space for questions. And while I open up space for questions, and while you're typing in your questions, I want to share with you what's going on in the Heal Your Teeth world right now. So many of you have probably seen that I have a course called Heal Your Teeth. It's 6 weeks. It's online. It's intensive. And I haven't run it since, I believe, September or October. Now, this was when I found out I was pregnant, and I became, and I just kind of needed to take that time off to look after myself, especially since I had morning sickness, something fierce. So I'm running this course again. We go over all these 5 aspects, and each week I take you deep into these sections. So if you found what I was saying interesting and would like more information, but not necessarily information, but just kind of like more like, okay, we're going to go more in depth about how does this apply to you, then this is definitely a program that you want to start thinking about. I'm not going to be running this program again until May or June, because I spend my time making sure that everyone gets their questions answered. And it's also, I limit this group. It's a pretty small number because I want to make sure that everybody has their questions answered, right? It's important that you get your questions answered and that it's not just a bunch of information, right? You already have access to all the information in all these groups that you're in, but what about tailored, specific your questions, right? So let me just get a little bit deeper in for anyone who's interested in knowing more about this, and I will share a link after the live to the details. So it's 6 weeks. You get release 1 class every week, and then we have a live Q&A in the group every week. So you submit your questions beforehand or in the moment like this. And actually the live is very, very similar to this. You'll just see me with a different hairstyle every weekend because it'll be up or down or whatever. And those are saved and you can have access to them afterwards. So you have lifetime access to the course. You have lifetime access to all upgrades. And you also have access to a private Facebook group where I do ongoing trainings. It's a support group for people who really are, so it's not as crazy as the Reversing Tooth Decay group or the other groups because people are a lot more grounded in there because they know now what they need to do, and now they're just looking for maybe a tweak here or there, or who's got a recipe for this, or, what do you guys think about this? And also, this comes with a recipe book. So you have a book of by the last week, you will get a book of recipes so that you can start to cook and you can modify this to your own foods, right? These are not like you have to follow these recipes. they are recipes. They're kind of like a framework. Like, okay, I can put this kind of protein instead of this. And those are easy, fun, tasty recipes. So what I'm going to have you do is, because it is limited, I would love to invite you to a call with me. So to see if this is a good fit for you, because obviously it's not, going to be the best fit for everybody. But if you really feel like, okay, like I wonder if this could help me, right? Because your situation is probably unique, but it's probably also something I've worked with before. So this is going to be a 20 to 30 minute call where we get on and we talk about you. And we figure out exactly which of these aspects are creating the issues and what you need to go forwards. And when you book that call, you get 5 recipes from me. So if you would like to book a call, just go ahead and put call. And at the end of this live, I'm going to drop the link down there as well. And now I'm going to open it up for questions. Questions. So I see there's 16 people on right now. So I would love to hear what your questions are after watching this live. So I'm going to go through these comments too. I think this makes sense for me. I generally have not liked the feeling and stress. Used to compartmentalize a boatload. Yeah, Zuri, it's definitely, wow. As women, learning to step into our power and, draw a line between healthy stress and stress that is put on us by society and what we're expected to just take. This is kind of a lifelong, right? This is a lifelong endeavor. But I show you how to really start that process if you're feeling like a little bit behind, right? I call myself a reforming nice girl, right? A reformed nice girl. So how do you tell someone, without being rude, without being a bee? Like, how do you do it? And these are things that I share, that I teach, and that I would love to share with you if that's something you're feeling like, but that's a lifelong practice. Okay. Okay, I've heard when a tooth turns darker black, it can be remineralizing. So when a tooth goes from brown to black, is essentially the decay has halted. So if you have a tooth that's black, it's halting. And what we want to start seeing it do for remineralization is we want to start seeing it kind of cloud over, right? And so, it can be halted, but it cannot be remineralizing. And the issue with teeth that are just halted, they're much better than active decay, much. But if you think about your teeth as a source of very available nutrients for your body, which is why your body often pulls from your teeth in times of nutritional need, then something that happens in your life, if you have a halted decay tooth, something that happens in your life could make that tooth decay become active again. So right now, being pregnant, if you didn't know that I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant. I think I've said it like 5 times on this live, but right now, being pregnant, I have to be extra mindful about my nutrition because I'm sharing it with a developing human. I have 2 students who are who are pregnant as well. Congratulations to you both. And what they had worked on with me, with their personal power protocol, is now what they get to go back to and make sure that they're getting all that nutrition like at the optimal level, because many women really do lose the first time they start losing teeth and bone density is pregnancy and breastfeeding. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Trisha. Okay. Wonderful, Stephanie. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Trisha. I actually have, I had this tooth that I lost